Oh, okay.
All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Middleborough Public Schools Family Literacy Night. This is our team of coaches and reading specialists, and I'm Heidi Latenda, principal at Nichols Middle School here in Middleborough, and I'm also in charge of the Title I grant. So I'm a Title I grant coordinator for the district. So tonight we are happy to present information on supporting literacy at home, and I will switch to our slideshow, but if anyone wants to wave and say hi.
Hi.
You will all be, if you want to introduce yourself, feel free. We can go around and introduce our role in our school.
Hi, everybody. My name is Colleen Randall, and I am a reading teacher at the Mary Kay Good School.
Hi, and I'm Natalie LaPerriere, and I am the literacy coach at the Nichols Middle School, as well as a 6th grade teacher.
Hi, I'm Chris Stargelis. I'm the teen librarian at the Middleborough Public Library.
Hi, I'm Jillian Lakey. I'm the literacy coach at the Brooklyn School.
Hi, I'm Melinda Madigan. I am a reading specialist, reading recovery teacher at the Brooklyn School.
Hi, everybody. I'm Dana Trottier, and I am the primary instructional coach here at the Brooklyn School.
Hello, this is Diane Phillips. I'm the reading specialist and the reading recovery teacher at the Mary Kay Good School. Good to be here tonight.
Hi, I'm Sam Dormady, and I am the curriculum and instruction specialist for humanities.
Thank you all very much. We have a solid team representing our Middleborough Public Schools from pre-K to 8. And now we'll switch to our slideshow. So welcome, everyone. Once again, we're glad you're here to join us, and we hope you find this information helpful tonight. As I mentioned before, I want to share a little bit about what Title I is. And so Title I grant is the largest and oldest federally funded grant to support schools. It is written and sent to the state each year. So every summer, I write the grant for our schools based on the needs of our district. And then I submit that to the state. And then we find out in the fall, early fall, what we have earned and what amounts we receive for the Title I grant. And then that money is disseminated throughout our schools. So this year, the MEC, Mary Kay Good, Henry B. Birkeland, and the Nichols Middle School, which is pretty much new to Title I, are all Title I schools within our district. Last year, our district for the FY21 received $487,841 in Title I funding, which supports a lot of different programs and staff, which I'll get into in a little bit. And then this year, for the FY22 school year, we have $572,012 for our total grants for this year. And it's based on our free and reduced lunch forms that come in. So you fill those out every year at the beginning of the year. Those are very important for us to earn funding for our schools. And the goal of the grant are used to support low achieving students in high poverty schools. And there are two different types of programs within Title I. We could be a school-wide program for Title I or a targeted assisted program. So if our school district is over that poverty level of 40% or higher, then our school can be considered a school-wide program. So years ago, the Target Assistance Program started with the Elementary Secondary Education Act in 1965, and that was to support individual students who were struggling, whether it was in reading or math, and those students were serviced only by a Title I reading specialist. But under the 1978, in 1978, they added the school-wide funding program. So if your students or your school or school population was over 40%, then we could service all students and upgrade parts of our educational program. So Middleborough Public School is over that 40% mark. So we do service and provide school-wide assistance with our Title I funds. Actually, our percentage as a district as a whole is at 42.18% for our total free and reduced lunch in our schools. Currently, Henry B. Birkeland School is at 55%, John T. Nichols is at 41%. Mary K. Good School is at 38%. And Memorial Early Childhood Center is at 43%. And then our high school is at 36, just about 37% of our population that receives free and reduced lunch in our district. But our overall is 42.18% receive free and reduced lunch. So we do fall under the school-wide program and services. So we are very fortunate to have a great pool of funds to help support our literacy team, our coaches, our resources, professional development for our teachers, professional development for our coaches, and also reading materials and books. And it also helps support our Family Resource Center, which has been very helpful. And Megan Quirk runs that. And I will have Mrs. Sam Dormady introduce the other folks in our team.
Hi there. So you've already met some of us. I'm the curriculum and instructional specialist, and my name is Sam. At the MEC, we have Carly Paling and Jen Santos. At MKG, we have Diane Phillips, Lori LeBlanc, and Colleen Randall. At HBB, there's Melinda Madigan, Jillian Lakey, and Dana Trottier. At the Nichols Middle School, we have Natalie LePerriere. And then from the library tonight, we'll have Amanda Meyer and Christine Dargelis.
Thank you, Sam. And Amanda was not able to join us tonight, but we will have Christine share a little bit about the resources they have to offer at our library.
Thank you. Good evening. The library is very excited to support our Middleborough schools and our students in any way we can. So I'm here to share with you some of the free library resources that we have to help your child find books that interest them and help inspire them to read. We have a large and varied collection of reading materials, from picture books and early readers to novels and nonfiction. We also have a wide selection of graphic novels and manga, plus magazines, audiobooks, and STEM kits here. What we don't have, we can always get for you. We're here to support you and your reader in finding books that they want to read and that are also age and reading level appropriate. And we can work with your child to match them with the right books so that they keep reading. If you're short on time and can't have a long visit at the library, we can put together what's called a book bundle. You let us know what types of books you want for your reader by filling out an online form, and we can select books based on the criteria that you've provided. And then we notify you when your bundle is ready to pick up. Another resource we have for you is audiobooks. Listening to audiobooks is a wonderful way to motivate your child to read. And lots of times we can pair an audiobook with a print book to help their reading improve even more. We have audiobooks in many formats, including Wonder Books, which are physical books with a built-in audiobook. We also have what's called playaways, that are little MP3 audiobooks that you can carry around anywhere you want. And we have the classic books on CD as well. If you prefer digital audiobooks, we offer a free service called Overdrive. It allows you to search and download audio and ebooks right to your mobile device using an app called Libby. The titles can be borrowed anytime, anywhere, and are automatically returned, so there are never any late fees. For parents and caregivers who want to search for reading material on their own, but you're not sure where to start, you can take a look at our kids and teen pages on our website. We have online book lists that offer suggestions by genre and grade. And also on our kids' website, you can find helpful tips on how to find just right books. I've added a URL on the slide that gives you, that will tell you how to get there. And on that page, we'll show you how to find read-alike lists and how to search for books by Lexile or accelerated reading levels. And then we have a couple of new reading programs that are coming up next week, starting February 4th. The first one is our Winter Library Olympic Reading Challenge for kids. It's hosted on our online reading platform called Beanstack. You can create a free account for your child, and then any library reading program that we have throughout the year, your child can participate in. These reading challenges are designed to motivate readers with virtual award badges, engaging activities, and prizes like gift cards. The second reading program we're offering is Reading with Miss Maryland Spaniels. Caregivers can sign up their reader for a 20-minute session to read aloud to a credentialed family therapy dog, which is a really unique way to encourage a kid, especially who loves animals, to read in a non-judgmental atmosphere. So all of these resources that I've just quickly gone over are available through our website, which is on the slide. It's www.midlib.org, and they're free to use with a Middleborough library card. If you don't have a card, you can get one for free. And if you've lost a card, you can get a replacement card for $1. To get a card, you can come to the library, either you or if you want your child to have a card, bring your child to the library and bring a photo ID or a license with a piece of mail that has your current address on it. If for some reason you owe money on your card and you're unable to pay it right away, we would be glad to work with you to resolve it. You can either email me or the children's librarian, Miss Amanda Meyer, and we can discuss some options. We really don't want you to not come to the library and borrow items because you may have fines on your card. We have really so many wonderful resources that we don't want you to miss out on. So if you have any questions at any time regarding your library account or some of our programs, or if you just want reading suggestions for your child, we would be glad to help you. You can email either Amanda or I, and our emails are right on that slide. And we can do what we can to get a book into your child's hands. So we hope to see you at the library, and thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Christine. We have a great partnership with the Middleborough Public Library, and I know Miss Amanda has invited the kindergartners over quite frequently to visit the library and have exposure to the library and the books and all the resources you offer. And Christine's been wonderful working with us, putting together our summer reading program for all our schools. So we look forward to that again this spring. And thank you very much, Christine. A lot of great resources for everyone here.
Thank you.
So, like I mentioned earlier, we do have a lot of services supported by the Title I grant. As I mentioned, our reading specialists, part of their salaries are provided by the Title I grant. Also, our coaches attend professional development through our Leslie Literacy model and the Leslie Literacy Collaborative. And then we have professional development either in-house or off-campus for our teachers and our coaches. And then our family resource coordinator, Megan Quirk, her position is funded by the Title I grant, and she's a great resource for all our families in Middleborough. And you don't even have to have children in our school. As long as you're a resident of Middleborough, she has a great interface on our district webpage for families to access to get support. I know a lot of families try to get some counseling support for their children or someone in their family, and she's a great resource to make that happen. And also many literacy books for our students. And also we do support our homeless families with transportation and resources and materials. And then literacy family nights like this are also funded by our Title I grant. Our family resource coordinator, as I mentioned, is Megan Quirk. Her office is located at the Henry B. Birkeland School, and her phone number is listed right there with her extension 4379 or 4319. And you can always email her. She's very good about responding and getting back to people. And she does have a Facebook page. So please do not hesitate to reach out to her because she helps with so many families. And we're very fortunate to have her in our district to help all of us. So she's a great resource, and her link is right there. Please know that this PowerPoint will be available on the district website so families can access the PowerPoint slides and also all the links on our slides for reference at a future time. So the big question is, what does literacy look like in our schools here at MEC, MKG, HBB, and the Nichols Middle School? So we will start with Miss Jillian.
Okay, good evening, everyone. So we have a basic structure model that we use for readers in Writers Workshop. Basically, workshop is designed to support whole group instruction, small group instruction, and also independent learning opportunities for students. So each day, it starts off with the teacher providing a mini lesson in either reading or in writing. And we call it a mini lesson because we really want most of the time to be spent for students to be doing the work during that independent time. So the teacher and the students will meet together and learn about one skill, about 5 or 10 minutes or so. And then most of the time is spent with the students going off to either read or write. And this really allows an opportunity for the teacher to be able to pull students into a small group if they need either some lifting or a little extra support. The teacher can also meet with students one-on-one, again, either in reading or in writing, to provide them with that really differentiated support that a student might need. And then they come back together at the end of that time for a share. And that's a great opportunity to build community, for the students to be able to share something that they've learned during that time. The teacher might even highlight something that a student has done really well in his or her reading or writing. And so this basic structure is really, really supportive for our students to be able to learn in reading and writing.
And just to add on to what Jillian said, at the Nichols Middle School, this is new for us this year. So it looks a little different than it does in the elementary schools because we don't have as much time to work on a reader's workshop and a writer's workshop every day. So it rotates on the days of what the students are working on, but it is the same model where there is a mini lesson. Students work independently. There is small group guided reading and writing groups that you can work with students who need a little bit more reinforcement of certain skills. We also are switching to book clubs where students read different books of their choice and then meet with other students who are reading the same book and discuss it. So we're getting away from, the whole class reading the same book. We're really trying to vary the reading experiences and just encouraging kids to have that independent reading book with them at all times. So at any one time, students could be reading, up to 3 books, depending on what it is we're working on. So we're really working on getting those older students to be focused on their reading and then working with a readers and writers notebook. So we're really excited. We're implementing it this year and we're building off of what they're doing in the elementary schools, which is wonderful.
Thank you, Natalie. And now, Colleen.
Good evening, families. Thank you, Natalie and Jillian, for explaining the workshop model. What I'm going to be talking about is what is that whole group and what are your students doing or your children are doing in a small group? So when you're in the elementary level, when we talk about the whole group teaching, that's when the teachers are doing the interactive read alouds, or they're giving that mini lesson that you just heard about, or they're doing the shared reading, which could be the poetry or a big book at the kindergarten. And that's the time when the kids are all together and they're working on their word study lessons or their phonics lessons. So there's a lot of whole group teaching, and but we try to keep it at a small amount of time so that the students have more of that small group time or independent time. So the small group teaching would be guided reading. That's where they're doing their reading groups. For the younger students, this is when they have a chance to go to what we call the literacy centers, which is a favorite for a lot of the younger students. And we also have independent learning time for our older elementary students. This is where they'd be doing independent reading or buddy reading. And this is a great time when students get to show what they know. And then, of course, in the classroom, when we're back as a whole group, that's where they're doing that share time. When it's in Writer's Workshop, students get to share the books that they're making or the writing they've done, or a poem they've worked on, or something from their readers or writer's notebook. Share time's a very special time for the kiddos, and it's something the staff looks forward to, too.
Thank you, Mrs. Randall.
And I'm also going to talk about some of the assessments and interventions that you would see at the elementary level. So, we work, we want to show, we have assessments in place so we can see what our kids have been learning, and we can support them in what they need to learn. So one of the assessments that we use for reading is called the Benchmark Assessment System. This really supports teachers in knowing where the students are in their reading levels and where they need to support their students as they grow in their reading levels. Some of the technology assessments that we use, now that we're one-to-one technology at all grades, which is very exciting, we use a program called Renaissance, or Star 360 is what the kids might refer to it. And we have a early literacy assessment and a reading assessment and also a math assessment that is based upon standards, and it provides the teachers with an understanding of where students are in the standards. The other places where we have time to talk about intervention is and assessments is when we have our data meetings. And the teachers do that monthly. Throughout the month, there's team meetings and grade level meetings that they meet with their principals and the interventionists and the reading specialists. So teachers and staff are always working together to think about what the students are doing and how to support them in their learning.
And thank you. I think you went over all of this.
I think I did too. I think the one thing I'd like to talk about is our newest assessment that's in technology is Lexia, or it's also called Core 5 or Power Up. And this is a newer assessment to the district over the last year or so. And this is something students are really excited to be doing in the classroom, and it focuses on literacy skills.
Yes, and this is also new at the Nichols Middle School this year, and our students engage in Power Up. That's the secondary level. But our students can access Lexia through ClassLink on the district webpage. The elementary students will go into the Lexia app, and the secondary students will go into the Power Up app. And there's 3 areas students are focusing on, and it's called word study, comprehension, and grammar. So there are 3 areas students can work on, and that gives our teachers immediate feedback on where students are in their learning and their understanding of literacy. And then there are assessment and skills that teachers can print and share and go over with students to help them improve their skills from where they're at and see where their strengths and weaknesses are. So that's a new addition, I think, to all of us this past year. And we had a pilot last year, I believe. So thank you, Mrs. Randall. And next,
Hello. So what is intervention? What does it look like at our schools? So intervention is when we provide the extra support that your child might need in the classroom or out of the classroom. I'm right now in a setting, I'm at my table at the school, and this is what a student might be pulled aside to do some intervention with a reading specialist, or they might be provided intervention with from a classroom teacher. We use the data that Colleen was mentioning, all the assessment tools that we have to drive that intervention. Students, we use their classroom work, we use their teacher input, and also our data. It's differentiated. That means that we look at what that child needs and we direct our instruction to what that child individually needs. We are very fortunate at the Mary Kay Good and the HBB and also at the MEC to have a program called the Level Literacy Intervention Program that provides level texts that support your child throughout their learning of reading. Your groups may vary. It might be a small group. It might be a one-on-one, as in Reading Recovery, which is a specialized program that we offer to first graders, or it could be a group of 4 to 6 students. It is provided, intervention is provided within a classroom, or a reading specialist might work with your classroom teacher and pull a child aside. So it looks different at different schools, at different grades. And it's also provided by the classroom teacher, as in the response to the intervention. Every classroom teacher knows your student and provides intervention to that child, whether it be a one-on-one or a small group during their guided reading time. We have set aside a specific time at the Mary Kay Good and believe at the Brooklyn to provide an intervention. So between 9 and 9:30, many of our teachers provide an intervention spot for those students that need that extra support in both reading and in math. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Mrs. Madigan.
Hi, thank you very much. And this is the time of our presentation where we transition into talking about ways that adults at home can support readers, no matter what the age or where they are in their reading development. And right here, this slide, it's a TED Talk actually by Rebecca Bellingham, who is a former New York teacher. And it's an excellent watch, and she provides information on how, no matter what age a child is, whether they're in preschool or whether they are in middle school or beyond, how read aloud can still be a very special time and be very beneficial to that child. So we have provided the link for you. It's about a 10-minute video. So rather than have you sit and watch it now, we provided the link, and we hope that you will take the time to watch it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Madigan. There are a lot of great resources out there for our families. And once again, we'll have this PowerPoint posted so the links and information will be accessible for our families, so you don't have to go searching for it. So thank you for that. And benefits of reading to your child, Mrs. Trodia.
So hello, everybody. We all know that reading to your child provides a good model for reading, and it promotes engaging conversations. But most importantly, reading to your child facilitates enjoyment for books. And I just want to echo, the idea that our library here in town is a wonderful resource. And I think that the TED Talk, I think if you have some time to watch it, I think that you will quite enjoy it. As mentioned by Melinda, she talks about how reading to kids at just about any age is beneficial.
So how do you do that? How do you raise a reader? And this is very exciting. I've included a link that we cannot show tonight, but that's my little grandbaby. She's 18 months old, and she has fallen in love with books. In fact, she has more books than toys. This is a board book, and research says that you really can start a baby at the age of 6 months is their eyes are developed enough to be engaged with books. So to raise a reader, we need to put books in children's hands. And I hope you do take a minute to listen to it, because she can read a book. You can see that she's turning the pages, she's looking at the book, and she's talking about the book. That's exactly what we want a reader to do. But how do you do that? That begins at any time in a child's life to fall in love with books. So my grandson, I like to make it personal, loves Paw Patrol. So you're putting books in children's hands with things that they love. They might love, Chuck, I don't know all their names, but all kids love to read Hop and Pop. They love to be read to, but they also like to have and touch their own books. As our readers go up, we might look at an emergent reader, which is our first and second grade readers. They might be accessing books that they can read themselves, and they can feel very independent upon reading their own books. So I picked up this little I Can Read book. As our students grow older and become more independent, they'll be choosing their own books, and it will be based on interest. I find that some students really love their nonfiction text. That was me. I was a nonfiction, and I was a fourth grade teacher last year for a part of the year, and we had we talked about World War II because we read Number of the Stars, and lots of the young boys really got into some of the stories that dealt with more serious subjects. A lot of the kids love mysteries, and those, I find that there's a lot of, they're into more, well, things I wouldn't be interested in, but more interesting. I get scared. But they, I think where we find as a reader, as a parent, that we want to judge their choices of reading, but that we need to give their interest a free rein. Here's another great one about Minecraft. That's very big in the schools right now, and Minecraft would be something that I would highly recommend as a text. You can see walking down the hall when a child becomes a really independent, intermediate, more adult reader is when they're traveling down the hall, our fifth graders with the Harry Potter, or our second graders that are attempting to read the Harry Potter text. So it really, how to raise a reader is putting books in their hand that they love to read and that they're interested in. The other one that I thought I took from the bookstore today is The Last Gamer Standing. I know gaming is very popular with young kids today, and but there's also graphic novels and novels on how to, books of interest for our readers. But just building that bookshelf, having that book in the car is one exciting way to raise a reader. So that is it's fun to see as a parent, to see your child read. So thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Always entertaining, and I love the book samples that you shared. I think it's very important for our families to have a literacy-rich environment if you can at your home. Get the books that you need, model reading to your children, or you just reading, making grocery lists, have them make lists with you, and that's reading. Reading is everywhere and all around us, and just modeling that and pointing that out is a great way to get your students or your children engaged in literacy. Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. And now we have, let's see, benefits of nursery rhymes from Mrs. Trottia.
So in thinking about choices when reading to or with your children, nursery rhymes are a wonderful resource to support development of oral language. Listening to and reading nursery rhymes build the foundational skills of reading, and children really enjoy the rhythm and rhyme of nursery rhymes. Most importantly, thinking about having fun, as Diane was bringing us to raising a reader. And you'll notice that here on this page, there is a link with an article to support the importance of nursery rhymes and how they fit into raising a reader.
I think it's also important for families to recognize that nursery rhymes are revisited again in upper elementary. They're fractured fairy tales or a spin on nursery rhymes. A lot of the stories students read. So if they have that background knowledge of the basic nursery rhymes that probably many of us were brought up with, it will help them understanding the fractured fairy tales and be able to compare and contrast the different stories, like the Three Little Pigs and then the Three Wolves. So there's different versions of those fairy tales that are great to read for students. And we have nursery rhymes for younger readers.
Yeah, and here we just provided some examples for children to enjoy. We know that books in children's hands are number one, but there are some videos that I think that you'll find enjoyable with your children.
Thank you, Mrs. Trottia. It looks like a great resource for everyone. It might take me a second to go through to get to the next slide. Thank you for being patient. And if anyone has any questions, please type it in the chat. We'll be happy to answer your questions. I think I have to go through each one. There we go. All right.
So I think just building off of that importance of reading, especially as students get older. I know sometimes it's harder for some students to find the time to read, or they don't enjoy it as much, but it really is such an important life skill. And so thinking about why is reading important? One of the things is it can relieve stress, for adolescents, especially middle school can be a tough time. When you read, it takes you to different places. It lets you experience different people's stories. You can make connections and find yourself in some of the books. So that's an important connection there. It makes you smarter. There's research that says from birth into age 20, those brains are growing, and students who are exposed to that and who are able to read really do become smarter as an adult because they've had their brain growing through this, through reading their whole life. It's also builds your vocabulary. Students who read more have a richer vocabulary. They're able to understand and process more. And again, just that research has shown that people with vocabulary skills, have more success because they're able to understand a lot more of what they encounter. And as an adult, all that reading that we have to do with contracts or, insurance policies, or if you're buying a car and you have to read the details of the loan that you're going to sign, those are all ways that if you read when you're younger, you're building those skills for when you're an adult. And so it's important to realize, reading never goes away, and it gets more difficult as we get older. So reading at these very crucial ages from, birth until, in college really helps them become more successful adults. And then just kind of thinking about, when you are financially, just if people who have that reading ability are able to know when you go get a job, you can communicate better, articulate better. So all of these things are really important. And then just thinking about reading as rewarding. It's fun and you can see yourself in a book, but you can also learn about other people and diverse cultures and things you might not know about. And as Mrs. Latenda said, building that background knowledge is huge, especially when you get to middle school and you start learning about different parts of history and it becomes more in depth. And sometimes it's kind of like you have to make these connections very quickly. And with a lot of background knowledge and exposure to reading, it really helps students be more successful as they get older in school because they can access more of this background knowledge. So the resource, again, there's more information on the link. Take the time. It really is an interesting read, and it just gives you that, reinforcement that whatever age, putting that book in their hand, getting them to experience text and become readers is so important for having them be as successful adults as well.
Thank you, Mrs. LaPerriere. And Mrs. Lakey, Mrs. LaPerriere?
Yes, so I'll start us off thinking about, this is kind of going back a little bit, thinking about our children who are still just learning how to read words off the page. Okay, and this is a question that we get all the time from families. What to do when my child gets stuck reading? So again, just to reiterate, having books at home with your children, reading to them or having them read is one of the best things that you can do to support them as readers. But to just kind of answer this question, there are a few different prompts here that we've put up here. And again, this will be on the website so you can revisit it, or if you have your phone nearby and want to take a quick picture of it, you could. One of the most important things is when they first get stuck is to actually wait at least 5 seconds before you say anything to them. And the reason for that is because we really, truly want them to become independent and to be able to learn how to problem solve and to think about, okay, what can I do? How I'm stuck, what do I do? And so if they're really stuck after that amount of time and just have no idea, these are some prompts that you can do. It could just be go back and reread. Does the picture clue help? Give it a try. And then you could even cover up part of the word for them and have them read it. So there's a bunch on here. And it really, again, it's just that little prompting to help them then realize, oh, I do know some things that I can do to help me become an independent reader and to read those words off the page.
Yeah, and so just building off of what Jillian said, just this idea that when they get a little bit older and they get into more difficult texts, whether independent texts or things they have to read for their classes, really reminding them that looking at those context clues, what's going on around what you're reading. Can you break down a word? You know, they still have to break down words even when they get older and kind of sound it out sometimes, or look at root words. And if they know what a root word means, can they, you know, discern a meaning from that? And just also, you know, when you're talking with your child, if they choose a book and it's too difficult for them and it's one they're just reading independently, but they're very frustrated, it's okay to abandon a book and choose and select something that they're going to get more enjoyment of, because it'll be a little bit more of a book that they can really get into because they can access it better. Sorry. So I think that's important too, is, you know, they don't, sometimes if they're struggling, it's okay to put that book down and pick a different book that you'll find more enjoyment and success out of, because that's it. We want to develop that love for reading. And the other thing is, we do encourage sometimes students to use the, you know, the YouTube audiobooks where they can have the book read to them as it's in front of them. That sometimes is very helpful as well.
And did you go through all this? I changed the slide too late for you, Mrs. LaPerriere.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll do it. That's fine. So is this my slide? I don't remember.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So, yeah. So the key is, it's like you want them to enjoy it, and you want to give them choice. Choice is huge, because if they can choose things that they really want to read about, as Mrs. Phillips said, they really get that enjoyment and that love, and then they're willing to take more risks as a reader. So there's some things to think about: audiobooks, like we said, magazines, right? About sports, especially kids are interested in that. They want to learn more. Online articles. I mean, up at the middle school, we use a program called Newsela or Newsella, and we give kids, you know, news articles, and they really do enjoy that and learning about things going on in the world today. Comic books. I know sometimes people see comic books or graphic novels and stories, and they don't think that that's real reading. It's absolutely real reading, and there's so many great graphic novels out there. You know, it's a whole genre within itself that kids really enjoy. And then picture books, even for kids. I mean, we've been doing at the middle school now so many more read alouds, and they love it. It's a way for them to access information, access text, and have a part of that discussion that they're able to participate in. And then poetry collections, you know, reading poetry. A lot of students say, I don't like poetry, but I think it's because they've never really read it and gotten to experience it and think about what it is and why it's written. And so exposing them to poetry. Manuals, reading how to work something, how to build something, how to play a video game and crack the code. You know, I always tell them these are all reading opportunities. And another thing is song lyrics. You know, so many of our kids love music. Just look at what the song lyrics are, and that ties into poetry as well. So there's a lot of real life strategies to get kids engaged, and there's so many resources out there that it's about giving them choice and about giving them that option to really get engaged in something they're interested in.
Thank you, Mrs. LaPerriere. And I think when students are reading, I think sometimes students choose to sit in a quiet space but have soft music playing in the background. Or some students like to read and read out loud, but to themselves. And you can even have your child cover their ears while they're reading, because they can hear themselves read. So every student finds a different way, or every child, that makes them comfortable to read and find a setting that works for them. So if they can make that in their home somewhere and snuggle up to a good book and make it part of their nightly routine, that is a great way to keep your child engaged in reading, because it becomes part of the nightly routine. I know that worked really well with my boys every night. It was shut the electronics down, brush your teeth, get ready for bed, and let's snuggle up to a good book. And sometimes they would read, or I would read, or we would both read. And it's okay, even as middle schoolers, to read a page or two to your child and then have them read. And they learn a lot from hearing us read to them. So this is all great information. So here are some facts and resources for our families. It's important to note that children who read at least 3 times a week are twice as likely to score in the top 25% of our reading scores and tests and assessments. And 65% of American fourth graders do not read at a proficient level. And that's really sad. We really want to see those numbers go up, but it's by taking the time out of your day. And I know sometimes we're all busy, but it's really important to model reading and making reading a priority in your home and part of your routine. If you can start that at a young age, it makes it that much easier. And students can get into reading a good book. And we have all these graphic novels. They are very popular in middle school, and the children are buzzing right through them. So I know it might not look like a thick Harry Potter book in middle school, and that's okay. We want our students to love reading, and anything they read and continue to expose themselves to that they're comfortable with, that's perfect for them. And eventually they'll feel more confident as readers, and pick up a different book. But we want to build their stamina. We also want to build their interest level and their love of reading. And these are a few ways to do that. And there are some great resources for you. Jim Trelease is a best author of the Read Aloud Handbook, and he has great resources for families and even for educators. So feel free to use his links to get information to help you engage your young reader and what to do and not to do. I think sometimes we're so eager to help our children read, but sometimes we need to back off a little and let them figure it out with some guiding prompts from us as adults. So there's some great resources here for you that we will have sharing. We will share out. I would love to have a parent advisory council. That's a Google form right there that I can have all the principals put in their weekly newsletters that go out on Friday. I would love to get a few families to join us and meet maybe 2 or 3 times a year just to go over our homeschool compact and our family communication and outreach. You might have some great ideas for family nights and different supports and resources. And you come to us with a different lens. So I would love to have some parents work with me along with Mrs. Dormady to look this over as a team and get your feedback, because that's really important to us. We are done presenting the basics about what literacy looks like in our schools. We would love to answer any questions if anyone has any questions, or you can email any one of us at any time. I know it's a lot of information, and please feel free to go and look at the website afterwards to access all these links. We really appreciate everyone's attention, and I commend all of our literacy teachers and our coaches and our interventionists and all of our teachers for working so diligently with our students. We know we've been through a pandemic and it's been challenging, and education has changed over the past 2 years, and everyone's doing their best and working hard to help close that gap and keep your child engaged in learning throughout their school days. So thank you very much for all your help and support. And if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to any one of us. Thank you all, and have a great night.